it's Elise, day 39 of my Happy Life Makeover. I was going to film outside today, but I'm a homeschool mom and we're doing testing review, so I actually need to stay closer to the house to help my daughter. She has questions with her review stuff. So anyway, today I want to talk about pushing against people again. You know, in the movie scenario where you've got, like 10 coworkers in their cubicles and there's always like one guy who people would deem a jackass. I don't like labeling, but just to illustrate my story, I'm going to use the term jackass or jerk. So please forgive me because that's not in my normal vocabulary. So the jackass is like always pours the last of the coffee and then he walks off from the maker and never makes any more for anybody else, and everybody in the office is like, what a jerk, he's always leaning over my cubicle talking about himself or what he did for the weekend. He's so self-absorbed, right? You know that old saying that says when you look at somebody and you see something you don't like in them, it's probably true about you. Well, what if you could justify in this scenario it's not? What if you can say, I'm not self-absorbed, I'm not selfish, I'm not rude. When I, take the last of the coffee, I make more. I talk about other things besides myself. I ask people how they're doing in my office. So no, that's not true about me. I'm going to suggest we look at this differently. Let's say that all of you collectively are annoyed in the office by this one person, right? Let's say that collectively all of you have a root fear that's mostly uninvestigated that goes something like this: I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. Now, everybody comes to that conclusion usually in their childhood for different reasons. It's feedback from parents, or feedback from the environment, or feedback from peers, or feedback from teachers. It comes from a lot of different ways, and it comes in all kinds of shapes and styles. But if everybody's emanating that vibration, they're going to get really annoyed by this person because somehow this guy, by his virtue or by what he is doing, is triggering a memory for them that they buried that's connected to the feeling I'm not good enough. Let's say, for example, you had a stepfather who you kind of didn't like, and he took your stuff as a child. He was always losing his things, and so he'd come in and he'd just take your comb out of your room without asking, and it just was so annoying. And it's true, he wasn't being very kind, he wasn't respecting your boundaries, and you had this really kind mother, right? But let's say you got unconsciously confused of why your mother would marry somebody that was so off. They weren't a good match. And you loved your mother so much, but you didn't want to tell her how disappointed you were she'd married somebody that you felt was so off, right? So your mother, right, who was your heroine, you had her on a pedestal, who could do no wrong, suddenly has made a bad decision. And that's made you feel unstable and insecure, but it's too uncomfortable to even feel. You don't want to even have that thought, so you bury that. So you focus all your attention on the stepfather, who's kind of a jackass because he's already doing jackassy kind of things. So it makes it really good and easy for him to be the target of your animosity. When really what you're not looking at, what you coveted, is the fact of, geez, if my mom didn't follow her own heart, and she was willing to sacrifice, and she made a choice that was off, and she's supposed to be my teacher, right? What does that say about me? Maybe I can't trust my own inner knower either. Maybe when I grow up, I won't be able to make the right choices, and that doesn't feel good. And maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe my mom thinks she's not good enough, so she picks somebody below her. That means I'm not good enough. I don't want to go there. Okay, forget that. We'll just look at the jackass stepfather and move on, right? So from that point on, everybody who does something, anything that unconsciously reminds you of your stepfather is going to aggravate you. Do you see how the connection kind of isn't a straight line connection? It's in a jagged, zigzaggy, or round the bend form. Okay, so the guy at the coffee machine, right, might as well have a sign taped to his butt that says this, right? Or how about this? So when you're pushing against somebody, they might as well have this sign taped to them that cuts right to the chase and says that, because that's what it's bringing up for you. You're not worthy and you're not good enough. So how about doing some investigation, digging in there, right? Getting courageous, bringing these thoughts up and investigating them to find out that they're really not true. But somehow making them true helped you, believe it or not, feel a little bit more stable and secure than you would have if you didn't have this feeling. Maybe you had to make your parents God because it felt too dangerous or too scary for them to be wrong and you to be right. So in making them right, you had to adopt this philosophy, right? Or this philosophy. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay, I know it's a little deep, a little heavy, and I'm sorry the post is a little long, but I just wanted to give you something to chew on so you can stop pushing, noticing when you're pushing, and say, how does this really relate to me? It doesn't mean that I'm like this person. It means something they're doing is connecting me to an old thought that brings up an old fear I don't want to look at. Okay, you guys go be sleuths and figure this stuff out, because you will become much more free and happy from doing it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.